Hello. A recent survey finds that among Google's tech workforce, just 17% are women. The company has announced a $50 million initiative called Made with Code to get girls more interested in computer coding. Jovena Whaatmoor of New York Tech Women and Clutch Talent has made it her mission to show women why they should work in tech, and she applauds the move from Google and others. She joins us now to tell us more about it, because it's not just Google which is trying to reach out to recruit women into the workforce. At Google, 30% of the overall workforce is women, 17% in tech. Facebook recently acknowledged its tech workforce is deficient when it comes to equality in the numbers of men and women. So why does the tech world seem to have this mismatch?
It's a big problem. The gap is really large. And what happens is early on, girls are not tracked to technology, and then throughout their careers, they're not encouraged to continue down that route. And so we have this huge shortage of women in the software engineering and tech community.
Well, when you talk about women not being tracked towards tech, how can that be? I see men and women, teenagers of all races, looking at their computers, their handheld smartphones, in a world that is total tech. So what do you mean by tracking?
Exactly. Technology is a part of our world in a very big way, but what happens is that girls are not exposed to software engineering as a career field. They don't see software engineers and technologists as role models. They're not introduced to them. We don't see that in media. They go through school and textbooks in math and science quote men. They get into, if they do decide to track into computer science in college, their instructors are likely going to be mostly men. And then when they get out there into the career field to interview, they're approaching companies where most of the people interviewing them are men, and most of their bosses are going to be men. So it's discouraging.
Let's break this down, because what I just heard you say, and on a very sophomoric level for me, is that so there's this effort to track boys and men into tech simply because men attract men into the field, and if we had women, it would attract women into the field?
Well, actually, we have a shortage across the board. If you talk to tech companies, almost all of them are having trouble keeping up with the demand that they have for these highly skilled software engineers.
I agree with you, and we hear that repeatedly, but what you said was that because there aren't women quoted in the textbooks, and because you don't see women in these roles, that discourages girls who will become women from pursuing these careers?
Well, let's say that you're going to run a marathon, and you get to the starting line, and you're hyped to go, you're ready. You look around, and you realize that you're the only person like you running that race that looks like you. And you get started, and you go, and you're told that no one like you has ever finished that race, or very few people have. And they're just, because there are so few women in technology, the problem builds. So currently, computer science graduates, only 12% are women. That's actually declined. It was almost 3 times that, 20 years ago.
But the incentives seem to be clear. I mean, well, this is out of whack, but according to one study, graduates with engineering degrees, and I'll assume this also means tech engineering, men earn $85,000 a year compared to women at $58,800 a year. Wouldn't the incentive to make more money be enough to recruit women? And why do we have that disparity in pay equity?
I think if you walk into a high school and you talk to kids and ask them what careers they're considering, across the board you're going to not find enough of them saying that they want to get into technology. If you tell a high school kid that they can make potentially $100,000 a year right out of school if they're going to one of these top universities and studying computer science, I think we'll have a lot more people tracking to that. I think that there's movement towards it, and salaries are continuing to grow.
So Google's going to commit $50 million of its own dollars to help motivate more girls to get degrees, and when they graduate to be more of the workforce in tech. Is it going to work?
I think so.
How?
I think they're approaching it in exactly the right ways.
But how do you use that $50 million to get more women in these positions? I'm thinking Sheryl Sandberg, but how do you do that?
Yeah, so the first two things that I see them doing with this initiative is really impacting, that what I mentioned earlier of showing that that all types of people are in technology. So they're showcasing women who have gotten into this career field. They're showcasing women who are teaching robots how to interact with humans, and women who are creating DJ systems that are integrated with technology. They're showing that it's cool.
Where I'm getting a disconnect, though, is you've got Sheryl Sandberg, you've got Marissa Mayer, you've got, I always get the name wrong, by the way, and Meg Whitman, just to name a few, Carly Fiorina. I mean, there have been women at the head of tech companies for more than a few years now, and that message isn't getting out to younger women?
If you look at the proportions of how many of these big tech companies are led by men versus women, there are not that many women. And then when we look at the people that are actually doing software engineering that make it all the way in their career field to being chief technology officers, leading the technology for these innovative tech companies, there still are so few women.
Well, we know that there's a shortage in the field, and hopefully this money that Google is using to recruit more people in and more women in will be money put to a good use, because they need to create those positions for people. Thank you so much for joining us. That's it for Tech Take. Thanks for watching.